Ladies and gentlemen, you're not waiting to arrive. You've already arrived. You just haven't remembered it yet. And that's the entire illusion that traps people for their whole lives. This idea that success, confidence, freedom, peace, they're all somewhere far away, somewhere in the distance, but they're not. They're here, right now, waiting to be activated, not found. Most people are trying to become. Very few realize they already are. The real shift in life happens the moment you stop living from your limitations and start living from your future self, the one who already made it. This speech will shake that illusion. Because once you act like you've already made it, you stop operating from lack. You stop asking for permission to matter. And most importantly, you stop playing small. So don't just listen, absorb, because this isn't motivation. This is a remembering. There is a strange paradox at play in this world. The moment you need something, it eludes you. But the moment you behave as though you already have it, it shows up in your life. Why? Because neediness repels, but certainty magnetizes. If you want to be powerful, act powerfully. But if you want to be successful, act successfully. Not in an arrogant way, not by pretending or performing, but by embodying the frequency of the version of you that's already done what you're dreaming of. You're not being fake, you're being faithful to a version of yourself that already exists. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how would I walk if I already had everything I desire? How would I speak? How would I treat myself? What would I tolerate? What would I let go of? Not do that. Start showing up from that place, not tomorrow. Now. Because the truth is, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. The world doesn't need another person begging to be seen. It needs people who see themselves clearly and move from that clarity. When you act like you've already made it, people feel it. They respond to it. They recognize something in you, even if they can't name it. And that something is energy. It's not a show, it's a signal. You're no longer chasing, you're channeling. So the question is not, when will I make it? The real question is, why am I not acting like I already have? Because the mind will always find reasons to doubt, but the soul only knows how to declare. And your declaration is simple, and I am already what I seek. You don't need permission. You don't need a title. You don't need applause. You just need to step into the frequency of the life that's already yours, and everything else will follow. Remember, this isn't acting. This is awakening. Your reality reflects your internal posture, not your resume, not your bank account, not even your reputation. The core of your reality, what you attract, what doors open for you, what people feel when you walk into a room, is dictated by the energy you carry within yourself. That's the posture. Not physical, but spiritual, emotional, vibrational. There's a certain truth we are not taught growing up. The world is not responding to your potential, it's responding to your self-perception. You may have infinite talent, deep intelligence, and a heart full of gold. But if you walk through life like you're unworthy, unsure, or incomplete, the world will mirror that belief right back at you. We tend to believe that once we succeed, then we'll feel powerful. Once we're chosen, then we'll feel valuable. But that is the great deception. Because the law of the universe is not believe once it happens. The law is believe and it will happen. If you approach life from a mindset of, I'm not there yet, everything will keep you in that waiting loop. Because if you are unconsciously repel what you desire, because you've already labeled yourself as the one who doesn't have it, so you behave like a beggar in a world built for kings. You shrink yourself when you were meant to expand. And the more you wait for the world to give you a sign, the more silent it becomes, because it's waiting on you. So what happens when you change your internal posture? Everything. When you start acting like you've already made it, not from ego, but from alignment, your energy shifts. You speak with more authority, not because you're louder, but because your words come from a place of truth. You no longer try to prove yourself, because there's nothing to prove when you already know who you are. Your choices become cleaner. Your standards rise. You stop chasing approval and start attracting respect. And people notice. They may not consciously realize what changed, but something about you feels grounded, certain. You're not in a hurry. You're not desperate. You move through the world like someone who has already arrived. That kind of posture is magnetic, because confidence, true confidence, is not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about remembering who you already are. And when you remember that, the way you walk changes. The way you speak changes. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I even align with this energy? This shift, this inner upgrade, is the gateway to transformation. External success is not the cause of inner confidence. It is the effect. What you radiate from within sets the tone for how reality responds to you. When you stand tall internally, the external world starts reorganizing itself to match that frequency. If you see yourself as already successful, already chosen, already worthy, you start moving differently. You stop operating from fear. You stop looking over your shoulder. You stop doubting every step. You begin to expect miracles, not because you're entitled, but because you understand your power to create. You are the cause. The outer world is the mirror. That's why your internal posture matters more than any strategy, hustle, or talent. The world doesn't follow the most qualified. It follows the most convicted. And conviction is born not from evidence, but from vision. You don't wait until your life looks like a masterpiece to act like an artist. You become the artist, and then the masterpiece follows. So start now. Straighten your internal posture. Walk into every room like you belong. Speak like your words carry weight. Decide that you are already enough. Not because the world has validated you, but because you no longer need it to. Your life will change the moment your self-perceive changes. Because your internal posture doesn't just shape how you see the world, it shapes what the world becomes in your presence. Confidence isn't arrogance, it's alignment. There is a subtle but powerful distinction between the two, though many confuse them. Arrogance is loud. It needs to be seen. It depends on others recognizing your worth before you can feel it yourself. But confidence, true grounded confidence, does not demand attention. It does not need to announce itself. It simply is. It's a quiet certainty, a natural alignment with who you already know yourself to be. And you're aligned with your deeper self. When your actions reflect your inner truth, you no longer seek validation. You don't need to prove your value because you've already claimed it. Internally, you're not competing. You're not trying to dominate a room. You're simply being what you already are. And that is the source of real power. Most people try to act confident by mimicking the behaviors of those they admire, changing how they dress, how they talk, how they move. But this is external dressing on a hollow frame. Confidence doesn't begin on the surface. It begins in your relationship with yourself. It is born when you stop abandoning yourself to please others. It deepens every time you trust your instincts, and it becomes unshakable when you no longer betray your values, even when it's inconvenient. When you're aligned, your energy speaks before you do. You don't walk into a room wondering if you belong. You walk in knowing that you belong wherever you decide to be, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you're not competing in the first place. You are walking your own path. You are following the signal of your own life, and because of that, people sense something different in you. They feel grounded in your presence, because you are grounded in yourself. This kind of alignment radiates outwards. It changes how people treat you, how opportunities find you, how challenges react to you. You begin to move through life like water, fluid, strong, unbothered by obstacles, because you've remembered your essence. Confidence becomes your default state, not because you're faking anything, but because you've stopped resisting who you truly are. Arrogance, on the other hand, is a mask worn by the insecure. It thrives on separation. It wants to be above others, not beside them. It feeds on comparison and crumbles under criticism. Arrogance is brittle. Confidence is soft and steady. Arrogance pushes. Confidence pulls. Arrogance is a performance. Confidence is a frequency. And that frequency only comes when your inner world matches the outer image you project. That's what alignment means. You're no longer fractured. You're no longer acting one way in public and another in private. You don't speak words you don't believe. You don't chase what doesn't feel right. You move in harmony with your purpose, and that harmony feels like confidence, not just to you, but to everyone who encounters you. This is why acting like you've already made it works, not because you're pretending to be someone else, but because you're tuning in to the version of yourself that has already done the work internally. The version who is clear, centered, and no longer negotiating her worth with the world. You become that version by aligning, not forcing, not faking, but allowing your higher self to lead. When you walk, walk with the energy of someone who no longer needs to be chosen, because you've already chosen yourself. When you speak, speak from the place of knowing, not the need to impress, but the desire to express. When you show up fully, not in fragments, not half-heartedly, but as someone who is already enough. Confidence is not loud, it's not aggressive, it's not built on bravado. It is calm, it is present, it is unshakable, because it is built on truth. And the greatest truth is this: you are not lacking anything. You were never behind. You don't have to hustle to become someone. You only have to return to who you already are. That return, that realignment, is the source of every great transformation. When you live from that place, the world doesn't just see your confidence, it feels your wholeness. Acting as if is not pretending, it's becoming. There is a powerful truth buried beneath those words, and if you grasp it, your life will never look the same again. See, most people think acting as if means lying to themselves or faking a life they don't have, but this is a shallow understanding. The real essence of acting as if is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping into the deeper version of who you already are, even before the world reflects it back to you. You are not fabricating an identity. You are unfolding into one as a version of you, calmer, wiser, more powerful, more purposeful, that already exists in potential. And the only reason you're not living from that version yet is because you haven't chosen it fully. Acting as if is the bridge between who you've been conditioned to be and who you are destined to become. Think of it like a seed. Inside that seed is already encoded everything necessary to become a tree. But in order to become the tree, it must first behave like one. It must grow toward the sun. It must reach deep into the soil. It must endure storms. It doesn't pretend to be a tree. It becomes one through the process of consistent, aligned action. You are no different. When you act as if you are already successful, already loved, already free, you begin to plant those patterns into your subconscious mind. Your body starts to memorize confidence. Your speech starts to carry weight. Your boundaries shift. Your habits change. Not because you're faking anything, but because you are making space for that truer self to take over. And here's the paradox. You don't become successful so that you can finally feel worthy. You feel worthy so that you can walk the path of success with courage. The becoming begins before the evidence shows up. That's what separates people who rise from those who remain stuck. They dare to live from a place their senses cannot yet confirm. That whatever the energy of the outcome before the outcome exists, acting as if doesn't mean living in delusion. It means making decisions from your highest intelligence, not your current limitations. It means asking, what would the best version of me do in this situation, and then doing that, even when it's uncomfortable. It's not about appearances. It's about alignment. When you make a decision, do it from the version of you who has already healed. When you enter a room, carry yourself as someone who knows they have value, not someone trying to earn it. When you wake up in the morning, structure your day as if you're already living the life you want. Not someday, but now. You begin to become that version through repetition, through presence, through intention. And the more you practice being her or him, the less effort it takes. Eventually, it won't feel like acting at all. It will just feel like truth. This is how all transformation begins. Not from waiting, but from embodying. You see, your external life always mirrors your internal identity. If you keep identifying as someone who is behind, broken, unsure, and your reality will echo that back. But if you begin to show up like someone who trusts the process, who speaks with purpose, who moves like they belong, then reality has no choice but to align with that image. The world bends to the shape you hold of yourself. So don't mistake this for pretending! Exclamation point. Not acting to deceive, You are acting to evolve, to reveal, to remember. There is no moment in the future where you suddenly become the person you want to be. That person is already in you, waiting to be expressed through your choices, your posture, your voice, your vision. So act like it, live like it, speak like it, because when you do, you're not just changing your life. You're stepping out of your past and into your becoming. The future is an illusion you create with your present energy. We are taught to believe that the future is something out there, a distant destination we eventually arrive at through time, effort, and luck. But this belief is an illusion. The truth is far more empowering. The future is not something you step into. It is something you generate in this very moment. It is shaped not by what happens to you tomorrow, but by how you think, feel, and behave today. The current state of being is the mold that forms your future reality, the thoughts you entertain, the emotions you allow, the habits you repeat. These are not passive experiences, they are building blocks. They carry energy. And energy, like a tuning fork, vibrates outward and calls to itself, matching experiences, people, and outcomes. You are constantly broadcasting a signal to the universe, and that signal determines what returns to you. If you want to change your future, you don't wait for it to show up. You change your signal now. Most people live in a cycle. They react to their current circumstances and then carry that same reaction into the next moment. So if they feel limited, they act small. If they feel unloved, they close off. If they feel unworthy, they hesitate. And with each repetition of that behavior, they reinforce a reality that keeps them stuck. But the breakthrough comes when you realize that the cycle can be broken, not by force, but by frequency. When you begin to show up in the present moment as someone who is already abundant, already successful, already whole, you send a different signal. You interrupt the pattern. You shift your timeline. That shift is not imaginary, it's quantum. It sets a new course for what's to come. It's not about faking it. It's about realigning. When you embody the version of yourself that has already made it, even when there is no physical evidence yet, you begin to operate from a higher dimension of yourself, one that is no longer trapped in the timeline of your fears, one that is no longer reacting to old stories, but responding to your deepest truth. And here's what most don't understand. Time is not linear in the way you've been taught. The future isn't waiting ahead of you like a train station. It is constantly being reshaped by your awareness. There are infinite futures available to you, and you are selecting one in every moment through your vibration. When you hold on to fear, you anchor yourself to a future where more fear is reflected. When you trust, when you believe, when you act from love and power, you shift into a reality that mirrors those choices. This is not wishful thinking. It is energetic law. But what does this mean for your journey? It means you must stop waiting. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for proof. Stop waiting for the right time to believe in yourself. That right time is a trick of the mind. It never comes. Because the only time that ever truly exists is now. And now is where your power lives. You must learn to collapse the illusion of distance between you and your dreams, not by chasing them, but by becoming them. Walk as if you're already living the life you desire. Speak as if it's already unfolding. Choose as if you are already worthy of it all, because you are. The future isn't out there, it's here, wrapped inside this moment, waiting to be activated by your energy. So pause, breathe, tune in, ask yourself, what version of me does the life I desire require? Then embody that version. Not later, not someday, now. Because the truth is, the future isn't something that happens to you. It's something that unfolds from you. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide to be ready. This is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you will ever make. Most people live their entire lives in a waiting room, waiting for more confidence, more clarity, more signs, more... They say, once I feel ready, then I'll start, as if readiness is some divine appointment that arrives on a silver platter. But readiness is not something you wait for. It's something you declare. It's a choice, not a condition. Waiting to feel ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. Think about it. How many moments in your life have passed you by because you were waiting to feel like you were enough for them? That job you didn't apply for, that idea you didn't share, that dream you delayed again and again. Not because you weren't capable, but because you were waiting for some internal green light that never switched on. But here's the truth, the readiness comes after you begin, not before. Readiness is built in action, not in overthinking. You don't feel confident and then act. You act and then confidence follows. You don't become powerful by preparing forever. You become powerful by showing up before you're sure and proving to yourself that you can rise to the occasion. There is no perfect moment. There is only this one. And this one is asking for your decision. You must understand that fear will always be there. Doubt will always whisper. The mind is designed to keep you safe, not to make you great. So if you wait until your fear disappears, you'll never move. But if you move with the fear, if you decide that you're ready despite the fear, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You awaken a deeper part of yourself, a part that isn't ruled by hesitation, a part that doesn't need external proof, a part that trusts in something larger than circumstance, your own becoming. Readiness is a frequency you tune into, not because the world told you you're ready, but because you're done waiting for permission. You rise, not because you feel perfectly prepared, but because the cost of staying where you are has become too high. You refuse to shrink any longer. You refuse to hide behind the mask of not yet. You decide, I am ready now. And when you do, life starts responding differently, opportunities begin to notice you, people begin to respect your presence. Why? Because you are no longer operating from hesitation. You are moving from conviction. And conviction is magnetic. The people who change the world are not the ones who had everything figured out. They are the ones who moved anyway, who said yes before they had all the answers, who trusted that they would figure it out as they walked the path. They became ready by doing, by falling, by rising again. Readiness is not a destination you arrive at. It's a threshold you cross. And the most beautiful part, once you decide you're ready, your world begins to expand. You begin to meet versions of yourself you never knew existed. Braver ones, louder ones, quieter but wiser ones. And you realize you were never unready. You were simply unpracticed in trusting your own power. If you're waiting, stop. Stop waiting for the fear to leave. Stop waiting to be perfect. Stop waiting to feel like someone else. You are the one you've been waiting for. And the moment you decide you're ready, you become ready. Everything changes the instant you claim your moment. So breathe, stand tall, walk forward, not because you're certain, but because you're willing. Willing to meet yourself on the edge. Willing to rise in the face of discomfort. Willing to trust that the future belongs to those who stop waiting and begin. The mind believes what you consistently tell it. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a biological truth. Your brain is not a passive observer of reality. It is a powerful, adaptable machine, constantly rewiring itself to reflect the thoughts you feed it. The more often you repeat a belief, the deeper it embeds into your subconscious. Over time, it becomes a lens through which you perceive everything, including yourself. When you constantly tell yourself, I'm not ready, I'm not enough, I always fail, I don't deserve it, your mind takes those words as instructions. It adapts. It builds patterns. It starts to reject opportunities that don't match that script, even if those opportunities are exactly what you want. Not because you're cursed or broken, but because your internal language is programming your identity. The question is not whether your mind is listening. It always is. The question is, what are you telling it? This is why acting like you've already made it isn't delusion. It's design. It's how you begin to reprogram the subconscious patterns that have kept you small. When you speak and walk and behave like someone who already believes in themselves, even if it feels unnatural at first, you begin to create new neurological grooves, new habits of thought, new ways of interpreting the world. You shift your inner dialogue from doubt, but it must be consistent. Saying something once doesn't change your life. Repetition is the mother of all transformation. You must speak life into yourself again and again, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when the old voice creeps in and tries to drag you back into the familiar cycle of fear. You say, I am becoming. You say, I am worthy now, not later. You say, I choose to believe in something bigger than my fear. At first, it may feel hollow. You may hear the words and feel nothing. That's normal. The old beliefs are rooted deep. But with time, your brain begins to soften its grip on them. And if you persist, those new thoughts begin to bloom. They gain weight. They begin to carry emotion. That emotion creates momentum. And suddenly, you find yourself behaving differently without even trying. You start walking taller. You speak more clearly. You stop chasing people who don't see your worth. You start taking risks you used to avoid, not because the external world changed overnight, but because you did, internally, quietly, powerfully. This is not fake it till you make it. This is train it until you live it. You are training your mind to believe in the life you desire, and that training begins with language. Your self-talk is not background noise. It is the blueprint of your future. You see, the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It reacts to both the same way. So when you visualize yourself as calm, clear, successful, when you speak from that identity and act from that place, You are creating a future memory in your brain, one that your nervous system begins to normalize. You stop treating your dreams as distant fantasies and start accepting them as inevitable outcomes. This is where internal power is born, not from circumstance, but from consistency. The mind may resist at first. It will tell you, this isn't true, this isn't who you are. But it's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you from discomfort, from uncertainty, from failure. But greatness requires you to feel those things and move anyway. Every day you have a choice. Reinforce the old story or write a new one. Speak your new identity. Walk your new timeline. Declare the energy of your next chapter even before the pages are written. This is how transformation begins. Not with external permission, but with internal declaration. Because the mind believes what you tell it. So start telling it a better story. Your environment responds to the energy you carry, not the other way around. The way the world treats you, the opportunities that appear, the people who gravitate toward you, all of it reflects the frequency you hold within. We've been taught to chase circumstances, to fix the outside so we can feel good on the inside. But the deeper truth is this: reality is not a dictator. It's a mirror. It reflects not what you want, but what you are. When you walk into a room unsure of yourself, the room echoes that doubt back to you. People glance past you, conversations skip over you, and life seems to confirm your insecurity. But if you walk into that same room grounded, centered, and alive with silent self-belief, something shifts. The room pays attention. People lean in. Energy opens. It's not magic. It's resonance. You teach the world how to treat you by the way you carry yourself. So when you act like you've already made it, not with arrogance, but with deep inner calm, you signal something powerful to your environment. You say, I'm not here to prove. I'm here to express. I'm not desperate. I'm directed. I don't need validation. I move from truth. And that signal rearranges the way life meets you. This is why you must become before you arrive. Your future doesn't come to meet your doubt. It comes to meet your alignment. When you begin to carry yourself like someone who knows where they're going, the right doors begin to open. Why? Because you are no longer sending mixed signals. You are no longer acting like a person who wants change while clinging to the energy of fear. You're walking with the rhythm of who you are becoming, and life can finally respond to that. But it's not always instant. Sometimes the environment tests you first. It asks, do you really believe this new version of yourself? People may doubt you. Results may take time. But if you stay in that higher frequency, if you keep showing up, speaking truth, holding boundaries, making choices from your future self, your surroundings have no choice but to reconfigure. This is not positivity, this is physics. Everything is energy, and energy doesn't lie. You cannot manipulate your environment through force or words alone. You influence it through embodiment. The moment you shift your internal state, your external reality begins to reorganize itself. That's why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly. They're not lucky. They're aligned. They've tuned their energy to a frequency that draws in what matches it. Think of yourself like a tuning fork. When you vibrate with self-trust, confidence, clarity, anything that is not in harmony with those frequencies either falls away or rises to meet you. But when you vibrate with fear, scarcity, or neediness, you attract situations that validate those states. Not because you deserve them, but because that's what your energy is calling in. The work is not to chase more, it's to become more. To become the person who no longer needs to impress. Become the person who isn't fazed by rejection. Become the person who holds their vision, even when the world doesn't yet see it. That energy is what creates transformation. Not by force, but by flow. When you realize this, you stop begging life to change. You start commanding change by shifting your frequency. You stop fighting for attention and start radiating presence. You stop hoping to be noticed and begin embodying someone who is already whole, already valuable, already in motion toward their vision. And as you hold that frequency, life begins to mirror it. People start treating you differently, not because you demanded it, but because your energy made it undeniable. You don't wait for the world to notice you before you act like you matter. You act like you matter, and the world reflects it back. What you embody internally becomes your external reality. This is not a motivational idea. It is a principle woven into the fabric of how consciousness shapes experience. Every emotion you feel, every belief you carry, every thought you nurture, sends out a silent vibration into the field around you. That field, call it reality, call it the universe, call it life, responds not to your words, not to your wishes, but to the truth of your being. And that truth is revealed in what you embody. You may say you want success, love, peace, abundance. But if you embody fear, doubt, lack, and unworthiness, you will always sabotage what you seek, because you're not sending out the frequency of desire fulfilled, you're sending out the frequency of desire denied. Life doesn't give you what you beg for, it gives you what you align with. To act like you've already made it is to step into alignment. It is not pretending, and it is not lying to yourself. It is the courageous decision to embody your future now, not by faking results, but by becoming the person those results belong to. Ask yourself, what does the version of me who has already made it feel like? How does that version breathe, speak, respond to failure, walk into a room, handle rejection, choose priorities? Now ask, why aren't you embodying that already? You see, your external world is a projection of your internal state. It doesn't reflect your effort, it reflects your embodiment. You can work hard while still feeling like an imposter. You can chase success while still vibrating with fear. And in doing so, you create friction, resistance, and burnout, because you're trying to pull a reality toward you that your energy is pushing away. But when you embody certainty, not arrogance, but inner knowing, things begin to flow. Why? Because you're no longer begging the world to show you who you are. You've already decided. And that decision shifts everything. Embodying success before you see it is how you create it. Embodying worth before it's proven is how you unlock it. Embodying peace before the chaos settles is how you invite calm into your life. This is the paradox most miss. You don't wait to feel like you've arrived before acting like you belong. You act like you belong, and the feeling of arrival follows. You embody the end result, not as a future prize, but as a present reality unfolding through you. But embodiment requires consistency. It's not something you do when you feel good or when the path is clear. It's a state you return to again and again, no matter how the outer world looks, especially when it looks uncertain. That's where the transformation happens. You begin to hold your center when things wobble. You stay loyal to your vision even when nothing outside confirms it yet. You show up with power in the middle of a storm, not because the storm has passed, but because you know who you are inside it. And life starts rearranging itself around that unwavering energy. You are not here to wait for the world to crown you. You are here to crown yourself with the energy of someone who has already crossed the bridge, already done the inner work, already remembered their worth. And from that state of being, you no longer chase, you attract. You no longer strive from emptiness, you create from fullness. You no longer look outside for confirmation, you trust that the outer world must catch up to the truth you've chosen within. So choose it. Choose to embody peace now. Embody confidence now. Embody clarity now. Embody abundance now. Because what you embody internally becomes your external reality, and that reality begins shifting the moment you do. So now you understand this life you dream of, this version of you that you keep chasing, isn't somewhere far away. It's not hidden in the future. It's not waiting for the perfect moment. It's already within you, waiting to be embodied. You don't have to prove yourself to the world. You don't have to wait until all the conditions are right. You don't have to ask for permission. You simply have to decide to act, to feel, to walk, to think as the person you already are at your core, the person who has already made it, the person who stopped waiting and started becoming. When you carry that energy, the world shifts. Not because the world changes first, but because you do. Your thoughts sharpen, your posture strengthens, your decisions elevate, and slowly, reality begins to mirror the truth you've chosen to embody. Remember this, your circumstances are not your identity, your doubts are not your destiny, and your fears are not facts. You become what you believe, and what you believe is shaped by how you act. So act like you've already made it, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment with who you're here to be. Let your energy lead the way. Let your embodiment speak louder than words. Because once you stop waiting, once you decide to become, there is nothing left to chase, only a reality to receive. And that begins right now with the decision to live from your future, not in pursuit of it.